Today is March 9th, 2026. 9 days ago, something happened at Dubai International Airport that aviation security experts once considered a theoretical scenario, not a lived reality. On the night of February 28th, 2026, ballistic missiles and armed drones launched by Iran crossed the Persian Gulf and struck the world's single busiest international airport. A concourse was damaged. 4 staff were injured. All flights were suspended indefinitely. Beneath the scorched tarmac of the Emirate's most vital artery, structural engineers found something that no one had publicly planned for. Dubai International Airport, known by its code DXB, is not simply a travel hub. It is the logistical spine of a model that reshaped global aviation. In 2024, DXB handled over 92 million international passengers, more than any other airport on Earth. Every single day, roughly 250,000 travelers transit through its terminals, connecting Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas in a single layover. Emirates Airline alone operates 1,500 weekly flights from DXB. The airport directly anchors an economy that generated over $100 billion in gross domestic product for the United Arab Emirates in 2024. For decades, that system rested on one foundational assumption: Dubai was untouchable. That assumption was not accidental. Dubai spent 4 decades constructing it. The Emirate positioned itself as a neutral commercial corridor, a city that traded with everyone and fought with no one. It built no visible military fortifications near its civilian airports. It marketed its safety record as infrastructure. Airlines routed global cargo and passenger traffic through DXB, precisely because the geopolitical risk appeared negligible. Insurers priced it that way. Airlines scheduled their fleets around it. Multinational corporations anchored their regional headquarters nearby. The entire architecture of Gulf aviation economics was built on the premise that DXB existed outside the radius of regional conflict. And that was the problem. On February 28th, 2026, the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes against Iran under what Washington named Operation Epic Fury. Within hours, Iran retaliated, not against military targets alone, but against the civilian infrastructure of Gulf states it accused of hosting American bases. In the first 2 days alone, Iran launched 174 ballistic missiles and 689 drones across the region. The UAE Ministry of Defense intercepted 161 of those missiles, but 13 fell into the sea. Debris from dozens of intercepted weapons fell across populated areas. At Terminal 3 of DXB, something struck in the early hours of March 1st. The models that priced regional aviation risk had not accounted for this scenario at scale. When structural assessment teams moved into the airport perimeter after the strikes, what they documented was not simply surface damage. Impact craters from intercepted ballistic debris had penetrated the apron surface adjacent to active concourses. Blast overpressure had fractured expansion joints in the terminal structure. In the surrounding ground, the force of intercepted warhead fragments, some traveling at speeds exceeding 1,000 meters per second on descent, had driven into the compacted sand substrate beneath the tarmac. Dubai's airport sits on reclaimed and stabilized desert terrain. What the damage assessment revealed was that the ground beneath key operational zones was less structurally redundant than public-facing engineering documentation suggested. Not catastrophically, but measurably. The operational collapse arrived immediately and in layers. Dubai airports suspended all flights from both DXB and DWC without a defined timeline. Emirates, the airline that makes DXB function, grounded its entire fleet. Tens of thousands of passengers were stranded across connecting airports from London to Singapore. Global cargo networks that route pharmaceutical cold chains, semiconductor components, and perishable freight through DXB experienced disruption measured in hundreds of millions of dollars within 72 hours. The broader Gulf airspace closure, extending to Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait City, and Bahrain, represented the largest disruption to international aviation since the COVID-19 pandemic. One analyst called it the moment the Gulf hub model encountered its first existential stress test. UAE air defenses intercepted over 90% of incoming projectiles across the 2-day attack window. By any military standard, that is exceptional performance. And yet the residual debris, falling interceptors, misdirected fragments and warhead casings, was sufficient to damage civilian infrastructure across multiple emirates simultaneously. No airport processing 92 million passengers annually can function as a fortified military installation. Every protective barrier has an operational cost. Every added delay compounds through a system engineered around precision timing. Dubai did not fail because it was poorly built. It failed because it was built for a world that no longer fully exists. The Gulf hub model assumed civilian infrastructure stood outside the targeting logic of regional conflict. That assumption held for 4 decades. On February 28, 2026, it did not. The question now is whether it ever can again.